Florida State coming up for the first time, bottom of the first inning, trying to get the bats going against Lindsey Hendricks for Syracuse, who threw pretty well in game one, Danielle. 3 clean innings, and then, well, everything happened in that 4th inning. First runner reached on an error. They had a fly out, a walk, then the pitching change. They ended up walking 8 batters in that inning alone, 11 in the game, and here's what she brings to the table.
Yeah, she can spin it, and she has that advantage coming from the left side, being that southpaw.
Shows off the glove right there to get the speedy Kalei Mudge. 1 pitch, 1 out.
That was a really good play by Hendricks, and I say that because as a left-handed fielding pitcher, you have to shift your feet, and you have to literally do that full turn, and with the speed to Mudge up the line, fields it cleanly, makes that good throw. It's a great play.
It's that PFP, right?
Yeah. But just kind of going back
pitcher lingo.
I know hey, we're getting you where you need to be. We're still working on it, but just kind of with Syracuse a little bit, like 16 walks given up to this Florida State tough offense. I mean, you look at what they're working with in that leadoff spot, Mudge, Kalei Harding up right now. This is a team that if you continuously give them the free passes, they're going to take advantage. And I think what I got out of game one was Florida State scored 10 runs on 2 hits, 11 base on balls, right? So that's just not going to cut it. And Syracuse head coach Depking knows that. You cannot win ball games when you can't find the strike zone and you're struggling a little bit. So coming into day 3 with your ace in the circle, straight attack mode, go at these hitters, challenge them, use your defense, because that has really been the bright light so far in these last 2 games for me. For Syracuse defensively, they stepped up, they've made great plays.
In the left center field, that is down for a base hit. Kalei Harding is aboard with 1 away. And to your point about the walks, this Florida State lineup doesn't need any help.
No, they don't. It's a good piece of hitting by Kalei Harding.
Harding, a junior from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And Katie Dack, the Texas A&M transfer, who has been tremendous so far for Florida State this season. 0-1 count to her, the sophomore from Parker, Colorado. Said she always wanted to play at Florida State. Got the opportunity when she hit the transfer portal after Texas A&M decided not to renew Joe Evans' contract. Tricia Ford now the head coach down in College Station. Lonnie Alameda talking about Katie Dack. They knew she'd be a good fit here. Craig Snyder was an assistant coach under Joe Evans at A&M last year. Snyder was a longtime assistant for Lonnie Alameda here at Florida State. And so she told us in our call this week that we knew, because she had been with Craig, that she would be comfortable with how we do things here. She was a big-time recruit out of high school. Lonnie was looking for pitching that year, though. They liked her. So when she hit the portal, the connection was made, and the rest is history.
Well, and Coach Lonnie Alameda talked about how Dack didn't get the opportunity to do this stuff in the wintertime, in the fall, those dark days of when you're grinding as a team and weightlifting and conditioning, and when you're really putting hay in the barn. But she said obviously getting the chance with Craig Snyder, like the verbiage was so important when she came into Florida State. She knew it.
Deep to left center, it's caught there by Angel Hasso. And they're able to hold Harding at first base, and Katie Dack was almost right on cue right there, but Hasso makes the catch in deep left center.
Now batting number 1, Hallie Wacaser.
For a second, I thought this was out of here, but just gets to the warning track.
Hasso out in center field, spot that last year was manned by Paris Woods. Really one of the most important players from a season ago. They lost Hallie Wacaser Jahni Kerr, Carly Campbell, and Paris Woods, 3 of their top 4 hitters. We've seen the Syracuse offense struggle this year. That's a big part of it, trying to replace those big bats. Hasso takes over the duties in center field. Let's see as this ACC schedule unfolds. Can Syracuse and this youth that they have start to put it together and find some confidence? This is hit out in that direction as well. That's in front of Hasso. Able to keep it there, and the runners are now at first and second with 2 outs. Hallie Wacaser with the single.
Stepping up to the plate, number 9, Devin Flaherty.
It's just a little bit of like a Judy, they call it. Just a little jam job, finds a way to hit the green for a base hit, right, kind of in that Bermuda Triangle a little bit, and just passing the bat and giving Flaherty an opportunity here.
In game 2, when Florida State won 5-1, they scored 2 runs in the first inning. They came with 2 outs. The first 2 batters were sat down, then 3 straight walks and a 2 RBI single. We haven't seen the walks yet in this game, but this is happening now with 2 outs. That base hit, this one left side, diving stop, they go to third, and it hits Harding. So the bases are now loaded with 2 away.
Now batting, number 4.
This is a good play by Harding. This is kind of deep in the 5-6 hole, and this had some good velo on it, so she had to lay out for it. Her only play was to try to get Harding at third base, but a lot of speed and kind of hit Kalei Harding in the back. Wasn't able to make that bang-bang throw, but saved a run by being able to field that.
Ryan Starr over at shortstop. This hit to the second baseman, Breen, who makes the play. So they strand the bases loaded with 2 away, and it's all zeros as we go to the second. Start today, Danielle, but we know from what we've seen from Lonnie Alameda, not just this year, this has kind of been developing. We talked before we came on the air about the staff approach now. This is what Florida State's done, how Lonnie Alameda has used her pitchers this year. 3 or more pitchers in 16 of 29 games. 5 different pitchers have made starts. This is kind of, and you know this from your time in college and what you've seen over the last decade, this is the way it's kind of going in college softball, isn't it?
Yeah, the game has changed. Hitting has evolved, I think, a lot more than pitchers have. And I think in order to be successful, you have to kind of have a staff mentality and approach. And Coach Lonnie Alameda is someone that I got the opportunity to play with, and I played with her in 2 Olympic games. And one thing she really talked about when she came in with that 2020 Olympic Games was just owning your role, whether that's you're being a starter, you're that middle reliever, or you're the closer. You have to be able to mentally be prepared for what that role is. And it's also a nod to the hitters, because to beat a team in a 3-game series in conference play with only 1 pitcher, it's just not going to happen. You have to be spicy with your pitching staff. You have to be able to manipulate them into a lineup and find ways that you can utilize them to try to beat these great hitting teams.
Talk about accepting a role and embracing it. And you look at, mentioned they've started 5 different pitchers, but you look at somebody like a freshman, Makenna Reid, who's made 15 appearances, more than 25 innings pitched on the season, which is 3rd most, and she's been used exclusively in a relief role. 1-2, slap back to Dubois, and she takes care of that one. Second time she's had to field her position. And then you look at Kathryn Sandercock, who is the undisputed ace for Florida State. And the way Lonnie's used her with starting games, taking her out, and then re-entering her into games, which is another interesting use of one of your aces. I'm curious as to how you view that and how you would feel as a starter and kind of trying to regain that mentality coming back in.
Well, I mean, one thing you know about Kathryn Sandercock, and Coach Lonnie Alameda has made this very clear, is just how selfless of a pitcher she is. She will do whatever she can for the team. And if it means, hey, you want me to start 2-3 innings and you're going to pull me and give someone else the ball, and then you need me to maybe come in and seal the deal, I've prepared for that. And if anyone can get their pitchers ready, it is someone like Coach Alameda.
Great communication there on the third base side between Katie Dack and Kalei Harding, letting that roll fouls. A nice bunt there by Madeline Lopez, just kept spinning into foul territory.
I don't know about you, but I heard the yelling from here in my own house with the communication of just let it go, foul. You heard the constant chatter, because I think if Harding fields this, she's up the line too quick, it's going to be a base hit.
0-2, another foul ball. We talked about it. These hitters for Syracuse going up there, taking some cuts. Madeline Lopez, a freshman from Montgomery, Texas, having a good freshman season so far. Just under 285 for the year, over 400 on base percentage. Battling down in the count. Watches that one too high.
I think even kind of going back to what you were just talking about a couple minutes ago with just the pitchers and Sandercock, it's never about these pitchers not wanting the ball. Every single pitcher should want the ball, wants it in those big moments. But I think for Kat Sandercock, knowing it's her last year, she wants to give other people that experience too.
Diving and not going to get there. That's Jahni Kerr out in center field. Well placed by Madeline Lopez. It's a one-out base hit.
Now batting number 12, Layla Alves.
Now the catcher, Layla Alves.
This was a really good job by Lopez. You just see the way that she's able to keep her weight back on that 1-2 count. That's a changeup by Dubois. And I think with Dubois' change and how good of a pitch that is, as a hitter, you have to take note. When you set foot in the box, I have to be able to stay on time with that pitch, because she's going to flip it in there anywhere from 2 to 3 times in and at bat.
She is now 7 for 7 to start the game, getting hitters to 2-strike counts. This one is another 0-2, this time to Alves. Swing and a miss. Out number 2 for Dubois comes in the form of her second strikeout.
Just going downstairs yet again, and I'm wondering if Syracuse is going to make an adjustment with where they're standing in the batter's box, right? With Dubois, you're not going to get blown away with velocity. She's not throwing 70 on the hands. She's throwing lower 60s with that good changeup. So moving around, I don't think is a bad option, because if we move up in the batter's box, we can see that drop ball up. You see some of these swings and misses are at pitches that are way down in the zone. And Syracuse has to find a way to get her to elevate that pitch a little bit without going chasing.
1-0 on the inside corner, good spot. Is that something you're talking about in the between innings when you're coming out back into the dugout after an at-bat? Hey, can we make some adjustments like this? This is what I'm seeing.
Oh, first thing you think about as a hitter when you head back to the dugout or don't have an at-bat you want. What am I looking for? And there's so much homework that's done on these pitchers prior to game time, but when you're in it, what are the in-game adjustments that you can make in the moment, right? It's being able to pass on that information to the next hitter. Hey, I saw this, and this is what I needed to do a better job of. The more information you can pass on, the better chance you can be with that second, third at bat to really make a killer adjustment. But the thing is, Chucky, it's like all these women may get one at bat off Dubois, but then who do they bring in? Are they going to bring someone in? Like, what is the game plan for the pitchers? And it's being able to adjust to something like that.
Now a full count to the third baseman, Trinity Nichols. Misses upstairs. Great at bat there from Nichols, who was one of just 2 batters so far to not fall behind 0-2 to Dubois, and now first and second with 2 outs.
It was a really good at bat, just from Nichols' patience to her big deep breath before she stepped into the box every single time. That was a really good at bat, and now puts Starr in a position here with a runner in scoring position, and a base hit could kind of get some momentum going here for Syracuse, potentially score.
Good spot, strike one to Ryan Starr, freshman out of New York, New York. At 554 as a senior captain at Massapequa High School. Seven hits on the season. Excuse me, 8 hits on the season, and 7 of them came in the first 2 weeks in just 8 games. So she struggled since a really good start to her freshman season as that one gets away, and it's second and third now. Big opportunity for the freshman to put Syracuse on the board. One. Misses outside, and some patience here from the Orange.
Yes. Good adjustments of seeing that drop ball down, that off-speed pitch down in the zone. Good hitters count opportunity here with 2 runners in scoring position.
That change up again just floats to a great spot on the outside half.
And this is such a tough pitch too, because of just her body. She's coming at you. She's not stopping any momentum. And that's hard for a hitter. You're trying to pick up on anything. Is she slowing her body down? Is there any type of thing that I can pick up on? But Dubois' change looks like every single other hard pitch that she throws. It's a tough pitch.
2-2, foul ball. Big at bat early in this game. Florida State's already taken the series. They won the first 2. Have not lost an ACC opening series since 2007. Syracuse hoping to avoid the sweep. 2-2. And there it is. Freezes Ryan Starr and strands a pair at second and third. Florida State left the bases loaded their last trip to the dish. A bit of a tough weekend for Syracuse, but defensively, they've really showed off the glove, Danielle.
Let's go. I mean, this for me is so big. Syracuse has come to play on defensive end, and this is a team that tends to be a little bit younger. You think about 10 freshmen on this team, and they're stepping up, and this weekend they have definitely shined in the defensive department. And we're talking about a team that was 10th last season in ACC in defense, and right now they're coming in at number 5. They found a way to clean that piece up, and you know, if you want to be successful, it has to be clean defense, no errors. And we've seen Syracuse do a really good job of that, I think, over the last 2 games. Even though the score has not been probably what they've wanted it to be, the defense has done a great job.
For a young team, just a spot maybe where they can find an identity a little bit even. They've had some struggles at the plate, but they become a team that hangs their hat on great defense, scraping across some runs to find a way to win against some of these top ACC programs like Florida State. And this is just outside. Mac Leonard leads it off for the Seminoles here in the second.
I feel like Hendricks is kind of getting squeezed a little bit. I mean, she's doing a good job of spreading the zone with the curveball, that backdoor curveball.
This is hit high, shallow center field, some communication. Now when it falls out of the glove of Ryan Starr, Mac Leonard slides into second safely. And we had just talked about the tremendous defense, but Ryan Starr, I wish she had that one back.
Well, and this had hang time from the jump, but I just think that little tiny hesitation, you just see Starr's eyes come down a little bit, thinking that she has it. This is a prime example to the little kiddos that are watching. Two hands, you go up and catch that, use the other hand, have it there just to make sure you lock it in, especially with a ball that is up in the air for a really long time. Those are plays that have to be made no matter what.
This is what has happened in this series. Syracuse, in a lot of ways, has opened the door on their own, in their own way, really, to let Florida State have these opportunities, rather than the Seminoles having to work for them by stringing together base hits. A lot of free passes. They've been good defensively. There was one error in that fourth inning in game one, and then things fell apart. Well, this one come back to bite them. Ground ball right side, and Gallipo steps on first for the first out, but it basically works as a sacrifice as Leonard advances to third.
Well, and listen, errors are part of the game. Those things at times are going to happen, but I think the most important thing, especially when you think of Ryan Starr at shortstop only being a freshman, what's the next thing that's going on in our head after we make that type of an error? What are the little tiny things that we're saying to ourselves? Are we letting a play like that affect the next pitch, or are we present moving forward and saying, hey, flush it, there's nothing I can do. I can't control what just happened. I can only be present and have my pitchers back next pitch.
Down to the 9-hole, Josie Muffley, trying to bring in the first run of the game, which would be unearned against Lindsey Hendricks. Again, Hendricks, fourth inning was a problem the other day. She was pulled after a few issues in that inning, but put together 3 really strong innings. And here early in this one, through the first 4 outs, and what should have been 5 has looked good as well. Junior from Orlando. Top returning arm from last season for Syracuse. Bunts down, tries to go to first. There's contact over at first base. It gets past Gallipo into right field. And Muffley's up to second. The run scores.
This is a squeeze all day. Mac Leonard on her wheels. And listen, we're already crossed up a little bit with Hendricks being that left-handed pitcher. She has to shift her feet to make that throw to try to get the speedy Muffley, and not able to make the clean throw. And listen, I think that's a heck of a call with everything that's going on with Leonard and her speed, as well as Muffley. You're turning the lineup over fairly quickly with her in that 9 spot.
Shannon Depking having a discussion of umpires. Steve Wenner behind the plate, Robert Guest at first base, Jill Poole at third base today.
And I'm assuming that this conversation has to be about the contact maybe that is being made from Josie Muffley.
Gallipo took a pretty good shot at first.
Yeah, when Breen was covering the bag, it almost looked like she kind of got taken out pretty good.
You're right, Breen, excuse me, the second baseman coming over.
And you see that quick little peek by Muffley. She's taken a look. You can't stand there. Breen, when we're down there, like, you know that Josie Muffley wants to go to 2. That base is open. She's going to make that turn. And it's kind of one of those situations where it's like she has to be there to make the throw, but we also have to be aware of the runner who's coming up the line hot. I just think that that was an accident.
Our umpiring crew is checking on runner's interference right now. And they will say no, so she'll be safe at second base. No interference called on the play at first. Quick review, the head coaches, both of them 2 challenges throughout the game. They must verbally or visually indicate a challenge request before the next pitch. And then once we reach the 6th inning, the umpires also have the opportunity to initiate a review on their own terms.
You know, what allows something like that not to happen, if Hendricks is able to make a good clean throw to Breen, who's covering the bag, that type of a little collision doesn't happen. But with that overthrow and Breen doing everything she could at second base, covering first to try to keep it in front, she had to go down to get it.
Now can they limit the damage? Back to the top of the order, Kaylee Mudge grounded out to Hendricks, her first trip to the plate, but hitting .337 on the year. Mudge has great speed. This is hit high. The shallow center might not even make it out of the dirt, and it doesn't. Catch made by Kelly Breen.
Now batting number 8, Kalei Harding.
2 away for Syracuse. Back to Kalei Harding, who singled and then was later stranded on third base in the first inning. On that Muffley bunt, they do give her an RBI single, and then advancing on the throwing error to first base. Two errors now in the inning for Syracuse. Coming right after we just hyped them up. All the defense that we've seen in these first 2 games, and it has been exceptional. That misses low, ball 1.
And kind of what's been the most impressive thing for me with Kalei Harding is just that jump in home runs. You look at a couple years ago, had 6 home runs, and then last season able to get 15. Experience helps that.
Harding safe at first. It was juggled at third base by Trinity Nichols. And that's most likely going to be a 3rd error on the Orange here in the 2nd inning.
And Hendricks is doing a great job rolling ground balls, and Syracuse just definitely struggling this inning with making those clean defensive plays. That yet again is a play that I'm assuming Nichols makes 10 out of 10 times, but in that situation, that tiny little bobble with speed up the line with Harding gives her the opportunity to get there and continue that momentum going for Florida State.
The door is open for a tremendous power hitter in Katie Dack, who's already went long 8 times this season. Leads this team in home runs and RBI. Just a sophomore, but a fantastic addition for Lonnie Alameda this year out of the transfer portal. They didn't take a lot. Brought in Katie Dack and Allison Royalty out of Arizona State. That misses down low, ball 1. State already 5 hits in this one. They're all singles. That misses outside.
And that, to me, Chucky, is the pitch that I feel like if Hendricks can get that spot, that backdoor curveball away from those righties, it puts her in positions to get ahead in the count, but she's just continuing to fall behind. And then on top of falling behind, your team isn't playing great defense behind you, then things just start to spiral out.
Slow roller to the shortstop. Ryan Starr takes care of it. Some mistakes, though, in this inning, Danielle. 3 errors.
Yeah, the errors are going to hurt you. Syracuse struggled a little bit, but the squeeze gets Florida State on the board. I say this, and I say it constantly, like, I don't play and come out of retirement if it's not for a Kalei Rafter and just her experience behind the plate, but also I think to just keep me sane, because that grind was hard. But more importantly, Coach Lonnie Alameda came into our team after the World Series in 2021 against Oklahoma when they went to the Champ Series. We were all watching as a team, and she came in, and it's almost like she saved us pitchers. It was just, we were going through the trenches as a group. We were all struggling a little bit. Everyone's away from your families with COVID and just what was asked of us on that Olympic grind. But she came in and put her arms around us and, hey, this is our plan. Let's stick to this. How can I help you? How can I be in your back pocket? But I think more importantly, and what we hear a ton, especially, you know, I talk with Kathryn Sandercock, they talk about how Lonnie Alameda cares about them more as the person that they are than the softball player. And that is such a cool thing, because I will run through a wall for a coach that cares more about what I bring to the table as a human being than what I can do for them when I'm on the field. And that's why a weekend like this for Florida State, with the Legacy and Legends weekend, Alumni weekend, they're bringing in all the old alumni. It's just such a special weekend, because it just kind of like ties everything together. Of, we all know Florida State's #1 core value is family, and they value that to the max. So when you have these alumni weekends, it's a special opportunity to
base hit to start off the 3rd. Trying for second. Now she'll go back to first base. That's the top of the order. Angie Ramos leading off with a single.
And in my opinion, Angie Ramos is just having a breakout season. That's why she's in that leadoff spot. She's got a lot of sass, can get on base, she's scrappy, and that's exactly what she does right there. And that's after a tough bottom of the 2nd inning. So that is a good quality AB by number 23.
She just matched last year's total in base hits with 16, but you said it, big improvement for Ramos. Her average almost 100 points higher than it was last season entering the weekend, hitting .333. 0-1 count for Gallipo, takes a massive cut and is down 0-2.
Well, and Angie Ramos's hit is the first right-handed hitter to get a hit so far in this series. So better late than never, but kind of a cool little nugget.
Great crowd here in Tallahassee today. Great environment. Love this facility, Danielle. You've been there as well. Just a really cool spot to watch one of the best teams in the country year in and year out in Lonnie Alameda. Syracuse trying to do something that could really give them a stepping stone moving forward in ACC play, give them a little building block. They've got a doubleheader out of conference on Wednesday, and then they're at Notre Dame. They haven't played a home game this season. Syracuse hasn't. Their home opener will be against Louisville on March 31st. 1-2, swung through, strike 3. That's the 4th strikeout for Dubois.
Well, and Gallipo just need to find a way to make an adjustment. We've seen a ton of swings and misses on the inner half down. And it's hard because it looks so good, but you have to find a way to see that ball up.
Kelly Breen testing her nerve right there, letting that changeup go. Fouls this one off. You talk about those swings and misses. 7 so far, just through 2 1/3 for Dubois. So she's missing bats right now. Has the 4 strikeouts.
It just goes to show how effective just the difference in velocity of her drop ball and that changeup combined together are tough for a hitter. And that's why, you know, I'm intrigued to see really this second time through the lineup, the adjustments that Syracuse are willing to make to get out of their comfort zone, to try to see that drop ball up a little bit. Move around in the box, find yourself scooting a little bit closer and forcing Dubois to have to bring that drop ball up. Challenge her.
1-2. That one too low. Runner goes. And a good decision. Ramos in the second in scoring position with just 1 away.
It's a good layoff by Breen and heads up play with that ball down in the dirt by Ramos to get second base. Tying run.
Another foul ball. Good at bat here from the 3-hole, Kelly Breen. Sophomore from California. They went back to California, her home state, last weekend. She went just 1 for 8 with a walk at the plate. An experienced player, started all 47 games last year, 3rd on their team in average. Watches that one, 5th strikeout now for Dubois. That's her 3rd strikeout looking.
And that's exactly what I was just going to say. That's the 3rd K where these hitters aren't taking the bat off their shoulders. And you look at her body movement, see how far out front she is on that front leg. Hips are already shifting forward. She's fooled. There's nothing you can do. I think if anything, you want to try to just wisp and make contact and try to foul it off. But she has been throwing really well and exceptional with just changing speeds.
That'll do it for Dubois. This is that staff approach, and here comes the ace, Kathryn Sandercock. She'll get ready. We'll take a break. Top of the 3rd, Florida State by 1 over Syracuse.
And Florida State making that pitching change, and just based on how that went, you know that was the game plan no matter what, that Sandercock was coming into this ball game, and she is the senior on staff, has a ton of experience. If you don't know her, you will. Just kind of look at her performance so far throughout the season. 65 2/3 innings pitched. And what makes her so good to me is just always how calm she is when she's in the circle. She just always carries that same kind of look on her face. She's very poised. But at the end of the day, to me, it's about how she can hit her spots. She's down in the zone. She can carry that ball up with that rise ball, can spin that changeup a little bit. And it's kind of bittersweet to think about this being the last year for Kathryn Sandercock and just what she's meant to Florida State. And kind of watching an interview that she was doing talking about this being her last year and how it is emotional, but she's trying to really just be where her feet are at and enjoy these moments, because if she thinks too much about it, she will get a little sad.
Swinging, caught. 1 pitch, 1 out. Josie Muffley's there, and that'll do it. They strand the runner on second. Seminoles coming up, bottom of the 3rd. Chilly here in Florida, but beautiful day for some softball. And finishing off the opening weekend for Florida State, Syracuse has already played some ACC opponents. Florida State talked to Lonnie Alameda this week about their tough schedule so far in non-conference. They're going to have a very difficult schedule in conference play as well. They'll travel to many of the top teams this year. But she talked about it. She said, hey, look, spring break for a lot of people right now. We didn't go to the beach. We went to Oklahoma, and we went to Oklahoma State, where you want to finish up your season in the state of Oklahoma and challenge themselves, and maybe didn't come off in the wins-loss columns the way they'd like, Danielle, but you have to think moving forward, those games are going to be something that they can really build off of.
Well, and those are the teams that, if you want to fight for a national championship, those are the teams that you're going to have to beat to do it. So why not get that experience now? And obviously we know that Florida State tends to play a tough schedule, but I mean, playing Oklahoma State in a 3-game set and then heading to Norman.
Oh, where's this one headed? Over the wall and left. A blast to start the third. Hallie Wacaser, way gone. Her first of the year, the first of the weekend in this series.
That has to feel good if you're Wacaser. She's just turning on this pitch. This is a curveball, supposed to be more in on her hands. Just leaks over the plate and a lot of pop. Just such a pretty swing, and that's out of here in a heartbeat. They are fighting like crazy over that ball in the outfield.
Now Devin Flaherty under this one, staying on the infield. Their communication is good, and Breen will take it for out number 1.
Stepping up to the plate, number 4, Jahni Kerr.
Jahni Kerr, the center fielder, grounded out to second, her first trip to the plate. We didn't get a chance to really talk about this, Danielle, last inning when those errors were coming for Syracuse, 3 of them. How difficult as a pitcher is it to refocus and think, okay, I'm doing the right things right now. It's just we haven't made the plays, but I'm making the right pitches.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has its moments where it can be frustrating, but I think with all eyes on you all the time as a pitcher, it's just being able to pick those players up that do make those errors and do struggle, because it is never intentional. And I always think that that little eye contact and that communication in that moment is so important. So for someone that does, you know, make an error uncharacteristically as a pitcher, to just acknowledge, say, hey, I got you, next pitch, let's go, are just those little things that can kind of lift a teammate up, but more importantly, gives them that mentality of, let's go, next pitch, I have your back, hit the ball to me. Because at times, you know, when you make an error, the first thing you think about, like, who's going to get mad at me right now? Who's angry at me? But it does always tend to look at the pitcher, right? Like, they're rolling you ground balls. And I think those little moments of connection are really important to just pull the infielders out of it and say, boom, let's go, next pitch.
Hendricks trying to respond after the solo shot from Wacaser. So, hey, man, saw it, took a cut, and it was gone.
And that's the pitch I'm talking about. That's a good spot. That's that back door on the inner half to those left-handed hitters. And if that's a pitch that she can get called for a strike, I don't think it's far off. I know we're in the bottom of the third and 44 pitches in, but I still think if she can find that spot and execute it, it's going to help her with just everything else in expanding the zone.
This is hit high into the outfield. Right side this time, and under it is Madeline Lopez. She made a really nice catch on that defensive highlight reel we showed you earlier. There's 2 outs now.
Stepping up to the plate, number 13, Makenna Reid.
Now Mac Leonard scored the first run after she reached on an error. She was happy to be on, but upset with how it happened. She wants to get the bat rolling right now. She got every bit of that one into foul territory. Transferred to Florida State last year, spent 3 years at Illinois State. Both parents and her older sister were athletes at Illinois State. Mac made the move to Florida State, led the Seminoles with a .375 average last year, hit 8 home runs. That average right now, though, hovering around .250.
And I saw a video of Mac Leonard where she was just talking about over the course of her career as a collegiate athlete, and she said at times she's felt like she's had to prove herself, and she wishes that she never did that, right? Because it's just that added pressure of needing to prove to people that you belong, but what allows for you to belong is the work that you've put in to put yourself in that position to play the game. And I think at times we as athletes have that chip on our shoulders of always wanting to prove like, hey, let's go, watch me. But the work behind the scenes is what quiets the haters or the people that maybe have any doubt in you and don't believe in you. And then when it's your time to shine, that's when you do remember all of those things and say, hey, let's go. I put in that time. I put in that work. Those dark days or going through the trenches are all meant for a reason, and things at times just start to align.
Got a piece of that one into right field. It's a 2-out base hit. We had just talked about Hendricks kind of getting some of those calls. She thought she had another one. Alves held it behind the plate for a second, but fell behind 3-1 in the count, and then Mac Leonard is going to take advantage 9 times out of 10. Bethany Keene a chance to keep it going with 2 outs. This is a very disciplined Florida State lineup. They lead the ACC in walks this season. Also lead the way in doubles and triples. And they're basically top 3 in every major offensive category. Keene hitting .200 for the year. That one is just a tick off for Hendricks.
It's not every day you get the chance to see a lefty-lefty battery across the board. Alves behind the plate, that left-handed catcher, Hendricks. Love to see it.
This is hitting the left field, tough spot, off the glove of the shortstop Starr. The runner coming around and scores. Keene is into second. That's a play we've seen Starr make. That one just pops out. Had to run a long way into left field for that.
Just kind of a little inside out swing, and I think that's a play that she does normally make. I think it would have been a heck of a catch, don't get me wrong, but I think when you were playing a team like Florida State, those are the types of plays that you crave to want to make. And the hard part too, Chucky, is just the game finds a way to continue to find you when you're down, right? We had that little error.
Speaking of, that one's in a tough spot, and there's some miscommunication, and you were right on cue there, Danielle. That ball finding a very similar spot that we've seen a couple times in this game.
You can just see that Starr looks slightly like passive, like she's not going for it in this moment. It's like, oh, no, no, you take it, you take it. I think that's Starr's ball all day. That's a lot closer than the ball that she just tried to go and make the last play. But the game always finds a way to continuously find you. And if you are thinking about those plays and digging and jabbing yourself constantly, the ball's going to continue to come up, and it's going to find you, and it's going to find you until you have literally put that stuff behind you. And this is just kind of a prime example. Coach Shannon Depking coming out and just kind of laying into her team a little bit. And I like this because this is a team that has played really great defense. Chuck, even though they've lost 2 defensively, they've been on point, they've made great plays, they've laid out for balls, they've made double plays. And today it just seems like they're not showing up.
And Ryan Starr has made a number of those plays this weekend, throughout this season, as a freshman shortstop who has a bright, bright future. She's going to grab some shades as well. We've seen her make similar plays to the one she hasn't made today we saw earlier in this series, so we know she's got the glove. It's just one of those days right now for her, and it's got to be frustrating. But right now, Syracuse has to put a stopper on this inning. 3 runs across so far. Ground ball, this could do it. Second base, Breen takes care of it for the 3rd out. But Florida State extends that lead 4-0.
Yes, Hallie Wacaser. This is her first of the year. Has to feel good. Wow. Florida State.
In Tallahassee, there's the head football coach, Mike Norvell, in the building. Florida State leading Syracuse 4-0. We've got Lonnie Alameda, the head softball coach for Florida State. And Coach Hallie Dubois gets you started in a good way. You bring in Kathryn Sandercock. But what did you see from Dubois, your senior pitcher?
I mean, awesome. She keeps people off balance. She does a great job of just attacking the zone. You know, I liked it a little bit better today, but we talked about that, you know, trying to stay sharp and get after that. But she just loves some softball and loves pitching, so it's fun to see that joy with her.
Coach, I have to ask, I mean, this is a Legacy and Legends weekend. You had the throwback unis on. Like, what is it like for you to be able to see all those amazing faces come in with their families and just celebrate what Florida State softball is all about?
Yeah, it was a tearjerker last night. You know, all the alumni got up and shared with our current team what it meant to wear the jersey. And you got Kalei Harding talking about the bridesmaids. And, you know, like, a lot of them don't ever give up and really talk about the moments on the field. They talk about all the moments off that connects them. And, I mean, you know that, right? And all these children are running around. And Callie's got tears, and Carson and Coach Graff's there. And, you know, Morgan Bullock and her crew. It was really cool and special. And we have a lot of, you know, 1970, 71 grads here too, and they're in the stands supporting us. So, you know, I'm very thankful that Coach Graff really supports us and continues to connect that legacy of, you know, all the things that she's built here, and we all got to honor that, you know. And gosh, you know, where this game's going, I don't know. I'm just here for a little bit of the time, and I'm trying to make it as best I can. But it is so amazing, and I'm so grateful to have weekends like this.
Done a pretty good job so far, Coach. Thanks for the time.
Bye.
Lonnie Alameda, the national champion head coach of Florida State back in 2018. You talk about tradition, Danielle, that goes back to Joanne Graff when she was the head coach here for 30 years. But Lonnie Alameda has carried that on and elevated it even in the players that we've seen for this legacy weekend in Tallahassee. I mean, there are some superstars of the game that have donned this jersey.
Yeah, Coach Lonnie Alameda stepped into an already pretty successful Florida State program, and she just helped take it to another level, but doesn't go without talking about the ones that come before you.
First pitch swinging, top of the 4th, and that was a little bit interesting there, but Bethany Keene able to take care of it.
Communication at its finest, and we've seen the sun expose some plays today, because as soon as that ball goes up, I mean, we're at 2 o'clock in Tallahassee, the sun is shining. You see that reaction of like, man, I thought you were gonna take that. What, you thought that was me? But she steps up and she makes a play.
That's just great. First pitch swinging in this at bat into right field. Wacaser, 2 pitches, 2 outs. Kathryn Sandercock having a good time right now in relief of Hallie Dubois.
And at times, you know, when you start out as a freshman and a sophomore pitcher, you're like, man, I love those strikeouts. I want them. I want to find a way to rack those up. But the older you get, hey, you want to give me like 5 or 6 pitch innings? I am here for it. That's the real bread and butter. And you know, Sandercock would love to have a nice quick inning. Keep some momentum going for Florida State on the offensive side, get them back in the dugout.
Catcher Layla Alves struck out her first trip to the plate. That one's upstairs, ball 1.
You know, and Sandercock has faced 3 hitters and retired each of them on that first pitch. So if you are Syracuse know that, hey, I gotta try to see more pitches. I want to try to make her work a little bit more. I don't want to just swing at the first thing, and pitchers tend to give you something pretty sweet around the zone right out of the gate, but you want to try to make a pitcher work. You want to try to inspire your offense a little bit by getting a rally going, seeing a lot of pitches, making that pitcher work.
Alves watches that one upstairs, 3-1. She made 33 starts as a freshman last year, hit .250. She's right on that mark again this season. Just one extra base hit though, but the lefty catcher behind the plate. And a lot of experience after last year, and could be one of the building blocks for this program moving forward. She watches strike 2 from Sandercock. Ground ball right side. Flaherty takes care of it. 1-2-3. Quick inning there for Kathryn Sandercock. We'll go to the bottom of the 4th and talk to the head coach, Depking, for Syracuse in just a moment. Florida State 4-0. We go into the bottom of the 4th. We're joined by the head coach, Depking, in her 5th season at Syracuse. Coach, you went out to your team last inning, quick chat in the circle, some struggles right now for Florida against this great Florida State team. What was the message to a young team that you've got?
I mean, I think we haven't done sun balls. We haven't been outside on a field in a long time. And so to give yourself a little bit of grace that we haven't practiced sun balls. And so for us to beat ourselves up over some balls that keep getting in the sun, just to calm down a little bit and understand, like, you're human. These things are going to happen, especially when you haven't practiced that play in a long time.
Coach, what was the mentality coming into a series like this? Because you guys are young. You have 10 freshmen on staff, and that is different to try to talk to them about what it's like heading into ACC play. So what was the message for the younger, athletes on your team?
I mean, at this point, we're just in the rut of the season. We've been struggling these past couple weekends, and, the message has just been, this is normal. You have your ebbs and flows in the game of softball, and we're just happen to be down right now. So if we could just get through this and continue to fight and tough it out, we're going to get to the other side of this. So right now it's just sit in this. We're going to get through it, right, and don't give in to this.
Coach, thank you for the time. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Depking in her 5th season, and coming off their best season last year, Danielle, led them to a 26-21 record. She was the head coach at Dartmouth for 4 years, 2-time Ivy League champs. She'd probably like to grab a stick at the plate right now. A tremendous player in her own time at Tennessee, an all-SEC catcher, and has a staff that's full of great players as well. Sydney O'Hara, who is familiar with this program, a Syracuse great, and Katie McEachern, who's a 2-time Ivy League Player of the Year under Depking at Dartmouth. Some of those pieces are in place. They had a good year last year, but she talks about it. We're just in a little bit of a rut right now. This is a young team, though. The future you can see in the roster she has constructed.
Well, and, she talks about the sun balls and kind of battling that a little bit. And all of those things are parts of the game, right? And you don't really practice sun balls. I know some teams will try to get in and just hammer the athletes and say, hey, we're going to practice sun balls for 10 minutes. But those little things are different aspects of the game that can challenge you, but at this point,
driven deep left center, and it's gone. More challenges for Syracuse as Kalei Harding goes yard, her 5th of the season.
Such a smooth swing. Pitch up in the zone. A little bit on the inner half, but missed, I think, a little too much against a hitter like Harding. Swagger coming into home. That has to feel good. She has just been such a calm presence for this Florida State team. She doesn't get too high. She doesn't get too low. She's just been consistent.
She's two-time All-ACC performer as we get a pitching change. Kaya Oliver, the senior from Ridgefield, Washington, comes in for the Orange, and she will try to keep things where they are in just a moment. Kaya Oliver making her third appearance of the series. Game 2 went 1 1/3, allowed 1 hit, struck out 1, but came in Game 1 in relief of Hendricks. Walked 3 batters, gave up 3 earned runs, and didn't record an out. She'll be looking for much better than that here in Game 3. But in a tough spot in the order, 3, 4, 5 here for Florida State.
And for Oliver to be able to just come in right now and find that strike zone, quickly jumps ahead. You just want to have your pitchers back, find a way to stop the damage here for Florida State. They're definitely getting better as the innings are going on.
Oliver listed as a senior, but she is one that in her 4th season could return for another. Her freshman year was the COVID-shortened season. We're seeing that through all college athletics. Just never know who's going to come back and who's going to go after that season was given back to all players across all sports. 0-1 to Dak. And misses down and away. Something off there, but just keeps floating and stays at the top of the zone.
Okay, Oliver does a good job of spreading that zone. She'll go with that curveball. She has that backdoor curve. Saw her sprinkle that changeup in there. Also throws that fastball.
It's fouled straight back. Dak just underneath that one. We talked about the youth of this Syracuse team. They lost 3 of their top 4 bats. They lost 2 of their top 3 arms from last season. Ariana Adams was 9-9 with a 3.35 ERA. Summer Clark transferred to FAU. Was a freshman last season. They've got a senior and junior, Hendricks and Oliver, and then 2 freshman pitchers, Jackie Pengel and Madison Knight. And those freshmen, Danielle, you would think in ACC play, they're going to have to grow up quickly and have to produce something for Syracuse if they want to have some success in conference.
Yeah, you want to try to get everyone kind of that experience and get them going and feeling good. It's like you want everyone to get those feel-good innings, but when you're playing in the ACC and it is just a dogfight every weekend, at times it can be challenging to feel like, oh man, I feel really, really good, because at times you can throw great pitches and elite hitters are going to find a way to do something with that. But it's more so about just being consistent, throwing great pitches, having good preparation as the week leads up to these conference matchups. What are we working on in our bullpens? What is the video scouting report that we're sitting and learning? And it's all about having a really good routine, because you are going to get humbled in this game. You're going to give up hits, you're going to struggle, but what's your bounce back?
There's a walk to Dak, already the solo home run, and now Dak is aboard with nobody out. When we look at the ACC, Danielle, and you talked about this right off the top of our broadcast, Florida State has really led the charge. But now you look across the ACC and really how good this conference is becoming. It's a lot deeper than it used to be. The last couple of years, you look at Florida State, Clemson, Duke, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame. Those 5 teams have finished in the top 5. They're right now, all of them are in the top 6 this year. And the question is, if you're Syracuse, how do we make that climb? What do you want to see from this Syracuse program? What is it about those other programs that puts them in a spot to find that consistent success?
Pick their brains if you get the opportunity. Every coach that's in a conference wants the conference to be successful. It's not about hiding every single detail that makes you elite. It's about obviously keeping some stuff under the rug and say, hey, this is how we do it at Florida State. But you know darn well, if Coach Shannon Depking wanted to have a conversation with Lonnie Alameda about XYZ, she's going to have that conversation because you want the conference to be strong. You want the parity of this game to be elite across the board. You don't just want Florida State to be great. You want all of those other teams to be able to compete and fight hard, not only in conference play, but make a push in the postseason, make that regional, try to fight to get to that super, and finish up in Oklahoma City. And it's all about actively communicating as a conference, if that's possible. I can't say that off the top of my head I know that's what they do, but I know if I was successful, I'd want to pass off to maybe younger coaches that are stepping up into those roles of things that have helped me get me to where I'm at.
Lonnie Alameda had high praise on our call this week for the other coaches and the facilities in the ACC and the direction things are heading right now. We actually got more ACC softball coming up next for you here on ACC Network. Alex Perlman, Madison Shipman in Clemson, South Carolina to wrap up Virginia Clemson. So stick around the conclusion of this game and you'll get to catch that one as well. Clemson, 4th-ranked team in the country. Florida State, they've had their dominance in the ACC. They've had a title, whether it be regular season or tourney, in 8 of the last 9 years, but that keeps on getting more difficult. These other programs becoming what they are. Ground ball right side through the hole. Wacaser, 3 for 3 today. Big day for her in that 4-hole for the Noles.
Now batting number 9, Devin Flaherty.
That's a 1-2 count. Does a good job. This ball's up in the zone a little bit on the outer half. Just punches it right through the 3-4 hole. Have herself a day. A little 3 for 3.
Still nobody out. Ground ball right side. Chance for 2. Flaherty's got good speed though, and it won't happen. Now 1st and 3rd with 1 away. Kaya Oliver got herself into a tough spot, walking a single, but trying to work out of it.
Deborah Frederick, we have one of your personal items, so please make your way.
Trying to turn that double play like they've done previously this weekend, but Flaherty probably fastest on this team up the line. It'd be very tough to double her up.
Yeah, 16 for 16 stolen bases entering the series this weekend, so she might be thinking 2 here. We'll see. Jahni Kerr, 0 for 2. Kerr on the season having a really nice redshirt sophomore year. Had a knee injury in 2021 as a freshman. Returned last year, hit about 261 with 5 homers. Already has 5 long balls this season, hitting .343. Just a great response from the injury from her, continuing to work. They throw down to 3rd as Flaherty takes 2nd and remains perfect on the season in stolen bases. There it is. It's not been caught stealing since March 30th, 2022. 21 straight. Pretty good for Devin Flaherty. That misses. Ball 3, tough spot here to Kerr. Yeah, not too bad for a 3-0 count from Jahni Kerr. Just a 7.24 average, that'll do.
Hey, and I found all those on 643, and I love to see it. All those little cool parts of the game.
Kerr swings and goodbye off the scoreboard at Joanne Graff Field. Jahni Kerr, her 6th of the season, is a monster shot.
The stars align there with the little graphic coming down at the 3-0, batting 724 with a 3-0 count, and she knows that pitchers tend to give you something meaty at that count because not everyone is hacking at 3-0, but Kerr says, hey, I have a pretty good average when I'm swinging the bat and taking it off my shoulders 3-0, and right now she puts Florida State in that run rule territory. If Syracuse is not able to score in the top of the 5th inning, this game would be done with the 8-0. Wow, I got goosebumps over here. All that.
That was a pure swing from Jahni Kerr. Mac Leonard trying to follow suit now. It's reached both times, 1 for 2. She scored both times too. Good off speed there from from Oliver. Gonna need a reset for Syracuse after this series. We talked about that with Shannon Depking just moments ago. Just going through the rut right now, but have to find a way out of it. Have to find a way to build. As Oliver gets Mac Leonard to ground out to second base. And we'll get a chance to step outside of conference, a doubleheader on Wednesday before going to Notre Dame next weekend, and that could be the recipe for them. Now Amaya Ross will bat for Bethany Keene. Sophomore from Jacksonville, Florida. She can run as well. She's second on the team in stolen bases. 11 for 11 entering the series. Watches ball 1 down and away.
And what a day today for those 6 through 9 hitters for Florida State. 6 RBIs for that bottom half of the lineup, and that's when you know you have some good offensive production, when they're swinging it well from the bottom of the lineup.
Strike 1, little check swing there from Ross. It's got to be difficult as a pitcher for Hendricks to start, and then Oliver is the consistency, Danielle, in approach throughout the order. I mean, there's a reason they lead the ACC in walks, and it's not just because there's a couple that are getting it done. So that's into right field, a nice grab by Lopez running on in right. Some work to do for Syracuse, though, as they trail by 8 going to the 5th.
Wow, talk about homers coming in hot. Harding, and then you have Kerr, who's batting over 700 with 3-0. What?
Seminoles, we talked about the depth of the ACC this year, but I don't think there's any doubt as we look at our game summary that Florida State will be right there with the top of them. Dubois started things off 2 2/3, 2 hits, and they always planned to bring in Kathryn Sandercock, who is trying to close the door now. And the long balls come finally for Florida State in this series. Had not seen one entering the day, but 3 so far today. Syracuse, to their credit, have had base runners, but 0 for 7 with runners on. Big swing and a miss there from the first pitch from Sandercock, who had 2 pitches and 2 outs to start the 4th inning. Fry now behind the plate. Avery Weisbrook is at shortstop. And Christina Hartley is at third base now for Florida State. Got her looking. Nichols goes down on strikes, and there's one away in the 5th.
She just sneaks this little change piece in. See her just take something off it. Only 12 pitches so far for Sandercock. Has to feel nice when your team steps up offensively and puts you in a position here to go try to close the door with the run rule in effect here at the top of the 5th.
Popped up and not within reach of the catcher, Maddie Fry, and this is Ryan Starr, the shortstop. Struck out looking back in the 2nd. Freshman starter at shortstop in the ACC, an accomplishment in its own right. Tough day today for her and this defense. Has to feel good knowing that your head coach Shannon Depking just gets it. She's been there, she's done that, understands what these players are going through. One from Sandercock, swing and a miss. That's just good stuff right there, some movement.
Well, and you have to go through the trenches to get out on the other side. It's not always you're just in the zone and you're feeling it all the time. You're going to get tested. And Syracuse, up to this point, as well as this weekend, has definitely been challenged and maybe struggled at times, but Coach Depking so positive about them just continuing to work and come out on the other side of it.
Hitting the right field. Wacaser makes the catch. 2 outs.
Stepping up to the plate, number 23, Angie Ramos.
Florida State, tough stretch coming up in ACC play. They played a tough schedule already, but we talked about it earlier. Their ACC slate, a lot of the top programs they will actually face on the road this year. Lonnie Alameda wants to chat, and here it is. Duke this coming weekend, Clemson in early April, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame. And they'll also play at Florida on May 3rd. You talk about a team who will be ready when it comes down to regional supers and potentially making it back to the Women's College World Series. They will be battle tested when that time comes. Sandercock's going to come off. Makenna Reid, the freshman, will make an appearance looking for 1 out.
And as much as you don't want to be fueled by loss, like you think about last season with them losing regionals at home to Mississippi State, right? Like what type of tone that sets for your off-season work. And it's not that that always needs to be in the forefront of your mind, because we asked Coach Lonnie Alameda about that, and it's part of the game. A team can come in and beat you on any given day, and it's really about just perspective and finding the way to continuously get better and better and better. But you know, that's something that these women have not forgotten, and it hurt, right? Like that's something they go from playing in the national championship in 2021 against the Oklahoma Sooners, excuse me, and then the following year it doesn't go the way they want it to. So now with having that leadership with a Sandercock in the circle still yet again, and having experienced freshman pitchers like Makenna Reid, that's what it's all about. It's about building up your players having a really tough schedule, which we know Florida State has played and will continue to play in ACC play. It's all about preparation for what lies ahead, but trying to get those wins. And Coach Lonnie Alameda said, it's hard to win consistently. It is. Like, coaches that are able to do that are good ones. You're going to get beat at times, but it's all about moving in that forward direction.
Makenna Reid and Maddie Balk, the two freshmen on this Florida State staff. If you look back over the years, when Kathryn Sandercock came in as a freshman, it was Megan King that was the leader of that staff. And King threw 210 innings that year. Sandercock was second. The last 2 years, she's been with Danielle Watson, and that's been a great duo. You can look back further than that to some of the great pitchers over the years for Lonnie Alameda. Lacey Waldrop, Jessica Burrows, the list goes on. When you see freshmen like this, Makenna Reid, Maddie Balk, who have had great starts to their careers, you always just wonder, has she found the next one? And are these the next two in line that we'll be talking about down the road that set the stage for the next group that'll come in?
Yeah, it's always really bittersweet when you think about that. It's almost like I get attached to these senior leaders that play across the board because I'm so lucky I get to sit and call these games and just watch the talent and watch these women almost grow up in the game before your eyes at the college level. And it's almost sad when you say goodbye to some of those names, because not only does it feel like they've been there forever with the COVID year, but it's like, okay, who's next? Like, who's gonna slide in and step into those shoes and into that role to kind of be that next face of the program? And you said it correctly, like, is Reid one of those players that's gonna be kind of that next Sandercock? Is she gonna be able to be that leader? And she has a good one with Sandercock still on staff, who's gonna be able to really continue to help pass that torch mentality. And that's something, you know, she really talked about she got from Burrows and Jess King, and really learned and picked their brains.
You can see the pitchers in the dugout there waiting for that right there. Reid gets the strikeout to close the door, and Florida State, for the second time in the series, run rules Syracuse, this time 8-0 to earn the series sweep. And Danielle, it's two programs right now kind of in different spots. Florida State now with momentum as they head into a big series with Duke next weekend, and Syracuse, they're still looking to find themselves.
They are, and hey, you're going to come through it, and I think that's the mentality that you have to have with Depking. You will get through this. It's a grind now, it hurts, but let's continue to get better, let's work hard, and let's go test it out next weekend.
Florida State, great pitching and the long ball, getting it done for Lonnie Alameda and company as they pick up the win. The crowd loved it. It was the Alumni weekend here in Tallahassee. Job done. The season sweep of Syracuse. For Danielle Laurie and our entire crew, I'm Chucky Kemp. Thanks for joining us. Alex Perlman, Madison Shipman, and Clemson at 4 o'clock Eastern